do think that artists are one of the few people that have the ability to speak freely, and that's a big part of where their creativity and creation comes from. I have authority problems for sure. I have massive authority problems. I feel like I do stand up because it's the freest I feel. A lot of people will come to me after like Earth Tones and be like, I thought I hated comedy because I'd be always seeing these like white guy comedians. Then to see this, they're like, wait, I actually love comedy.
Welcome back to the SafeTea, everyone. Today, I'm super excited to have a friend, comedian, and I can say also co-star in this incredible movie we did that's premiering at Tribeca Film Festival. I have Sureni Weerasekera. I said it right. A badass Sri Lankan-American comedian who is just killing it. Welcome.
Hello. Oh my God, what an intro.
Right?
It feels crazy to hear someone talk about you right 3 feet from you.
3 feet from you, I know.
Wow, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. By the time this debuts, you'll all know, have a movie coming out at Tribeca where Sureni plays my sister, and also me in drag in the movie. And we had so much fun. I can't wait for everyone to see it, but I'm so happy to have her here and to dive in.
Yay! I'm so excited. Yeah, it was an honor to play you in drag.
Right?
It really initiated my non-binary feelings. No,
we looked really pretty much the same.
We looked exactly the same.
Right?
I was giving daddy salt and pepper. You know,
well, you know, my beard was colored in.
Oh yeah, it was colored in.
We shaved off 10 years.
Yeah, you look so good.
But I do have to tell you, we won't name where, when, and who, but there was somebody who told a producer involved in our movie who, that person had watched the film and was like, oh, I was so confused. I couldn't tell which person was which or if like he was the same so literally like what
they couldn't tell.
They couldn't tell.
Wait, no way.
Yes. The
height difference alone, that's crazy.
So I feel like it's really funny because that was the point of the movie, and it just goes to show that it's still like a reality.
Be honest, were they white? Be honest.
They were white.
They were white. That was a Caucasian type of answer. Yeah, that's crazy. I'm not even surprised.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. But you know what? That's why we made the movie.
Yeah.
And so like it's not to make that person feel that bad. It's just like let's like laugh together at how funny it is that it's still the reality that brown people get mistaken for one another, even though sometimes they look nothing alike.
It's so funny. There's actually a whole show in like a stand-up show in what's it called, LA, called Facial Recognition. Have you heard of that one?
No, but I like it.
It's basically these 3 South Asian girls, and they were so sick of getting mistaken as each other at these comedy clubs and comedy shows that they literally made a show called Facial Recognition to say, we are not the same comedian.
Wait, this is amazing.
And it's like a photo of all 3 of them, and now they have like other brown girls on it. It's just a bunch of your close-ups of each of their faces right next to each other. But that's just so sad because that's within the last 10 years. And that show's still running. And I'm sure people are still mixing them up.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a funny ass show.
Oh my God. Well, we start every episode in talking about, because it's called the SafeTea, TEA. If tea is an important part of your life and how you take it. I know we have a really special tea today.
We have a special tea today.
We got to show it.
I got acquainted with this brand name. I think it's Kola Goodies. And I'm obviously biased because they're Sri Lankan, so I gotta put them on real quick.
And you have to drink it holding in your left hand.
They really, I know, we gotta focus on the brand. Not sponsored, just delicious.
Well, it should be. And Kola Goodies, we're going to be reaching out to you because it is delicious. And hello, just brown excellence here.
Precisely. Yeah, in her bio on Instagram, Sajani, it says the bad bitch that came from Sri Lanka. You know what I mean?
Feel like that's
from
you.
The Nicki Minaj song. Hey, we all are bad. You're a bad bitch from Sri Lanka
I'm
too.
A bad bitch too.
And their tea is so good. And they just sent me like a little box, and I tried it. It was so bomb. I was like, fuck yeah. So I love to put them on. I love to see South Asian people winning, Sri Lankan people winning. So thank you.
Thank you for introducing me to it.
This is the oat milk version as well, because if I drink real milk, I would be farting up the studio.
Yeah.
Akbar would be passed out face down.
We would need our lactate. But so we don't have our normal SafeTea cups because, it's a Sri Lankan takeover today.
I don't know. But
I love it.
I do love Kirithe milk tea, in Sinhalese. And I'd like it with, white cane sugar. I like it really strong, really strong. And then, you ever drink like the powdered milk? I don't know. There's something with the powdered milk just makes it like extra creamy. So good.
We love it.
So good.
We love it.
And I drink a lot of coffee. That's really what I drink.
Me too.
Yeah.
Was tea a big part of like your life growing up? I mean, culturally or not really? Were your parents not traditional with the tea?
I mean, I feel like my parents used to drink tea a lot more when I was younger but now I feel like they're very caffeine sensitive. They don't drink it much. But when we'd go to temple, yeah, we'd be drinking kirite. And when we'd go back to Sri Lanka on the occasional times we did, yeah, absolutely. Drinking it all the time. It's so delicious. It's like almost like you're like Thai milk tea. It's like so sweet. Yeah, that's how I want it.
Yum. Well, I'm really excited. So the first part of our podcast is the SAFE part, which stands for Seen, Accepted, Free, and Empowered. And then we get into the tea and transform, elevate, affirm, how we're paying it forward and how we're speaking up for our communities. We're sitting here today, and while we're still very much on our journeys, we've created some awesome shit, you know, you with your comedy and acting and all your brilliance. And it's important for people to understand how we got here.
Totally.
So this is fun. This is the origin. Who was Sureni?
Ooh.
And so growing up, you know, growing up Pakistani in Michigan,
I bet that was awesome.
Yeah,
you had a lot of community in Michigan.
It hasn't changed much. No, there is actually a big South Asian community. I mean,
that's
big
awesome.
is probably relative compared to like New York, LA, but a decent community. And of course, you know, most of them are doctors. You know, of
classic.
course. But it was back. You're a little younger than me, but you know, it was not that many of us. And so, how was it? Were you born here, or you moved here?
Yeah, I was born in Sri Lanka, but I left when I was like 6 months old.
Okay, so basically...
I was a really brave baby. That's what I say when I immigrated here. We moved to New York, actually. We stayed there for 6 years in Buffalo, New York. And then my parents were like, wow, it's really cold. So, imagine going from like a country that's like an island that's right next to the equator to moving to Buffalo, New York, where it's like feet of snow. And after 6 years, they were like, wow, it's really cold. So we drove across the U.S. and moved to San Diego. And that's where grew up. That's where I like proper grew up, I say. And that was like a predominantly like Latino, like Mexican neighborhood and white neighborhood. And, you know, there was like I did grow up with like a couple South Asian people here and there. Didn't know like many Sri Lankan people. You had to drive like an hour and a half to get to the Buddhist temple. My family's Buddhist. And like, you know, there was a few like Asian kids, black kids, but it was mostly like white and Mexican. Like that's who I grew up by.
Did you learn Spanish?
Poquito. Not a lot. Not more. I should know more. It's actually quite embarrassing. I took a couple years of Spanish. Yeah, live mas. You know, la raza. You know, whatever.
We love are you kidding me? We love our Latinx community. Did you become like a surfer?
No, my parents would not let me swim in the ocean. You think they let this little brown girl go swim in the ocean by herself? No. I feel like, also, we were by the Tijuana River, which would often be quite polluted. And there would be many, many signs that would say, like, don't swim in the ocean. It's really dirty. But obviously, these white kids would not be swimming. And my parents would be like, you know, these white kids, their parents don't love them. That's why they're letting them go swim in the ocean. So I didn't swim a lot. We would go to, like, the pool, you know, we'd swim at the public pool, the high school pool and stuff like that. But I envied like all the kids who were allowed to go surf and whatnot. But now as an adult, like I go swim all the time. Like I go to the Rockaways during the summertime. I'm posted there for the full day. It. I'm like lathering myself in sunscreen and I'm bopping in the ocean. I'm body surfing. Like I feel like I'm making up for all those years. But like I love swimming. I think the water is quite healing. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is the island girl in me, you know?
Yeah, she was always there.
She was always there. She was ready to come out. Are you a swimmer? Do you swim?
I mean, I love being in the ocean and the water. I wouldn't say like a swimmer. I mean, I can swim. I can survive.
Totally.
But definitely not a swimmer. Competitive swimming, no. Not for me.
I was drowned as a kid. That was one thing.
Not for me.
Actually, there was one time I went, speaking of not being allowed to swim in the ocean, I remember I was 12 years old. I was at a birthday party. And that was a big deal because I had to like, you know, you got to convince your mom. You got to make a whole pitch. You got to be on like Shark Tank. And you're like, this is why these parents are safe and aren't going to touch me crazy.
A presentation.
It's a presentation. I was like, this white family, you're going to love them. They're having a beach party. Like, I'm not going to swim. And then everyone was swimming and then I felt FOMO. So then I got into the ocean to start swimming too. And I get pulled out in a current.
And you gave them the, I told you so.
Listen, I said I wasn't going to do it. And I was like, everybody on the shore was like this tiny. And I was like, all I could think, and I have like a joke about this in my stand-up, like all I could think is like, fuck, like if I die, like my mom's gonna kill me, and like that's like all I could think.
Not even like I don't want to die.
No,
fuck.
no, my mom's gonna like resurrect me and then kill me. And then some guy like jumped in and saved me and my friend, and I was like so exhausted.
Oh my
like,
God, was he hot? Like a knight in shining?
You know, he's a tall Latin man. Listen, what happens?
We love a tall Latin
at the ocean
man.
in Imperial Beach stays there.
In the ocean.
But you know, he was, thank that man, love him. And yeah, and what was so funny is my brother is the one who picked me up, my older brother. And then the mom.
It's just the two of you?
Just two of my older brother. And the mom of the birthday girl was like, because I told her, I was like, please don't tell my brother. Like, please, like, my mom's going to kill me. My dad's going to kill me. They're going to deport me back to Sri Lanka. And the mom's like, obviously, I'm going to tell whoever picks you up.
Of course.
You almost died, you know, at my kid's birthday. And then she told my brother, and my brother was like, look, I'm not going to tell mom. If mom finds out through like other parents that this happened, she's going to be even more mad if you don't tell her yourself. So I made the tough decision as like a 12-year-old. I was like, okay, I'm going to tell mom, but I'm going to sandwich it between other information. So she was like, how was the birthday party? I was like, oh, you know, like the hamburgers were like so good. I almost drowned. Like there were hot dogs and like there was a dog there. She's like, what was that? And I was like, I almost drowned. And there was like mustard. It was really good mustard.
I love it.
And she smacked me across the face so fucking hard. She smacked the fuck out of me. And like reverberated.
Back then, that's what it was.
Girl, still.
Yeah,
I don't know about you,
smacked.
but still, I'm getting hit. She smacked me across the face, and then she gave me a hug.
Classic South Asian immigrant parenting. You didn't get an A? Bam. Oh, come here.
Isn't that so confusing? Isn't that so like, that's traumatizing.
Yes,
that like warps
what?
your sense of love.
Oh.
My parents would always be like, we hit you because we love you. These other kids, these white kids, their parents don't love them.
Don't love them. Oh my God.
So, did you get hit? You got hit.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to me. How'd you get hit?
Oh my God. I mean, for grades. It was usually for grades, you know, like, bam.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look, I mean, that was how they were brought up. You know, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Did your parents ever hit you with the, oh, well, we don't hit you as much as our parents hit us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Which is like, how about nobody gets hit? How about nobody hits anybody? But yeah, that's them breaking their generational curse slowly.
Well, we still love our parents.
Still love them.
So aside from the drowning and the, you know, all that, did you have the traditional pressures growing up, like doctor, lawyer, finance?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I think classic immigrant story, like immigrated to the U.S. for opportunity. We did a visa lottery, green card lottery. Yeah, one of the lotteries basically, and that's how we were able to get in. We had to get like a sponsor to get here and everything. My parents grew up, you know, very low income, and being in the U.S. continued to be low income. And yeah, I think for a lot of their life, it was sacrifice. And they were like, you know, it would behoove you in your own life to like do a job that pays well, that offers financial security. It's not about fulfillment. It's about security. Yeah. Like there's no, like you talk about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like my parents were still worrying about like the first two rings of you know, basic needs, housing, etc. So like there's no part to get to self-actualization, you know? Yeah. It's really just like security, and that's kind of what they're gunning for. And I get why they would want that for their kid too if they didn't have that. But then I think because my parents were able to like, you know, put a roof over my head, provide for me, you know, even at a bare minimum, like we're able to do that. It in a weird twisted way, it's like I don't think they realize it, but they immigrated here for me to do stand-up comedy in a weird twisted way. It's because like
for you to have a choice. Yeah,
for me to have the choice, to me to have the option. And it would actually be a disservice in some way to their dream for me to not. But I don't know. I also think a lot about, like, I talk to, since I'm a younger sibling too, and I think a lot of people I see who are in the creative field tend to be younger siblings who usually have an older sibling that like has their shit together.
Yeah, I'm the youngest of four.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's why you're pursuing the arts and everything. Exactly. If the older siblings got their shit together, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to go hit open mics. You know what I mean? Yes. And like if my brother was like, I didn't have his shit together, I would be probably in a field that was more secure. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, you would be Dr. Weerasekera.
Yes, I would be. And that does sound better than comedian Weerasekera, but I would have probably locked the fuck in and done that, you know? But I think my brother, you know, values security, and he also lives vicariously through me in some ways. And I think I live vicariously through his stability sometimes, you know, and like, but you know, I think he looks at my life and he's like, I couldn't stomach that. And I look at his life and I'm like, I don't know if I could stomach that. But then we're both making our choice for ourselves, given the context of our parents' sacrifices and things. And I think ultimately it's been a full circle moment where I do think first with my parents had to come out to them about comedy. Like I was like, you know, I identify as a stand-up comedian.
Well, we usually have two coming outs as creatives. And if you're queer,
and you're queer on top of that.
So you have two. I mean, so I think like every creative brown person, even if they're not queer, has a coming out, which is funny, which I think is important for people to know. Like they got to come out in their career. And then for us, you add the extra layer
of being queer.
The juiciness.
Yep. The little razzle dazzle, you know? Yeah, they were like stand-up comedy sounds like a great hobby. Sounds like that's a great pastime while you're at your residency for doctorate.
Where they're like, queerness is another great hobby.
Yeah, queerness is another it's a choice.
It's a choice.
It's a choice. You can opt out, you know? I think for a long time, my mom was just like, both my parents, they're just anxious, you know, about the stability of the arts. And you know what? Boy, were they right. It is unstable.
It's not easy, but it's fulfilling.
It is, yeah.
And
fulfillment pays the bills.
You heard it here. But so growing up, did you have this sort of, maybe not necessarily a comedy bug, or were you sort of like a really funny kid? And did you love performing? Like, did you do any of that when you were young, or no, kind of later?
Yeah, I think I'd always been like artistically inclined. Like I always enjoyed like painting, sketching. I used to watch like a lot of YouTube videos and want to be a YouTuber, so I used to make like sketches and edit videos and stuff like that. Yeah, and then also part of it is my parents, like they truly did not let me do anything. They were really afraid of like the world, and they didn't want me to like be exposed to bad things. So like what I did was go on the internet, which we know is much less bad, right? The internet's so safe and there's nothing horrible on there. So I was just like alone, making art by myself. I used to sing. That was a big one where I really wanted to be a singer. And I remember like auditioning for like Kids Bop as a kid, stuff like that.
Do you still sing? I mean,
I don't sing as much. Like, listen, I don't got a bad voice. I'm not saying I'm Lizzo or Adele or anything like that, but like I sing decent, you know. And I used to sing at like quinceañeras, or like do the occasional like little league baseball games, singing the national anthem, or like I used to street perform. That was a big one. I used to busk.
Wow.
When I was in high school, I was busking because I was really inspired by Andy Grammer. And like his success story getting discovered at the 3rd Street Promenade in LA.
Wait, is busking like dancing?
Busking is like street performing in general.
Like where you like get the crowd around you and you do something. Yeah.
And I would perform in San Diego at this like kind of touristy spot called Old Town. There's like a lot of cool like clay art and stuff like that. It's just like a touristy, like a lot of foot traffic basically. So I would post up there and I would sing and make tips and stuff like that. And a funny story is my dad, because again, common theme, I wasn't allowed to do anything by myself, and I had to like convince my parents to let me street perform. And so my dad was like, okay, I'll let you do it, but I have to like be there. I'm not gonna leave you alone on this sidewalk. So I remember I'd be on this intersection, and I'd be on this side of the intersection, and I'd tell my dad, like, don't be near me. Like, you know when you're a kid, you don't want to be near your parents. And so he'd stand on the opposite side of the intersection, on the opposite end. And one day this woman comes up to me and she's like, don't look, but like that man's been staring at you for like an hour.
Oh my God. They're like, holy shit.
And I was like, that's so crazy. I don't know that man. Like, you should call 911.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
I was like, that's my dad. But yeah, and I would do that. And then when I got to I started watching stand-up videos because of my brother. And he was really interested in stand-up comedy, and we'd watch like the Chappelle Show, Key and Peele Show. I was like, wow, stand-up is like incredible. Like I just started watching like YouTube videos of stand-up and crowd work and things like that. And then when I decided when I went to college, I was going to try stand-up for the first time.
Wow. So this has been in you from the start.
I enjoy the arts. I did a little theater when I was in like middle school, like high school a little bit. Yeah.
And that's pretty cool. Your parents were that supportive. I mean, I can't imagine. My parents would never allow me and be there with me. Yeah. Like, you know, like I would have to like sneak out and do it. But the fact that he was like, okay, I'll go. I mean, that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. My dad is like definitely like, he like goes to the beat of his own drum. You know what I mean? He's definitely a little like quirky, and like he'll be like, okay, let me wrap my head around this like unconventional thought. Let me try, you know? I do think my parents are, as time goes on and I hear more stories and anecdotes, I'm like, wow, like my parents are like, you know, a little bit more open-minded in some ways than not. And obviously not perfect, but, you know.
Well, it's like, as much as we had the traditional pressures, or you had some of those, there was a little bit of experimenting.
Totally.
And, you know, let our child try something, which is really awesome.
I mean, it takes a type of person to want to immigrate out of their home country. And, like, my dad wanted that with, like, deep in his body. And he used to work, like, on a ship, so he would travel the world like a sailor on like a cargo ship and stuff. So he's like seen the world and stuff. He's like more well-traveled than my mom for sure. And I think part of him being exposed to like the world and different parts of it, he's like a little bit more like, okay, I could see why someone would do this or something. And I think he's like, okay, let's try to figure it out a little bit. But more than anything, it still comes back to security and like wanting you to be financially okay and all these things.
But also being Buddhist, I feel like that probably, we all practice now with meditation and things, so many aspects of Buddhism. That also must have added a layer of understanding. I feel like Buddhism teaches you a lot about being open and accepting and not judging. And
I mean, I don't know. I just feel like all schools of thought will always be weaponized when convenient, because for me, when I even came out to like, before I came out to my parents, like they used to always say very earnestly that like, if you are gay, like that means you did something bad in a past life. Because I think it's progressive in that they believe that it's not a choice, but it's not progressive because, well, I mean, it's the idea that like, they're acknowledging that it is difficult in many societies to be a gay person. There are challenges, right? There's obviously still so much discrimination and marginalization and et cetera. So they recognize that it is in some ways a harder path. So they're like, if you are born that way, then like you must have done some fuck shit in a past life to be born that way, So I get the logic, but I think ever since me coming out to my parents too, like my mom especially has like really like started Googling. Like she's Googling, she's like researching about queerness, and she's like, she knows about trans people now, and she like understands that it's like also not a choice, and she's been reading, like listening to interviews and seeing these people in Sri Lanka and these like queer organizations. Like it's crazy how much she's like stepped the fuck up. Like, and it's like, that's the most important thing like I think a parent can do is like, maybe they don't always get it right, but they're trying.
That's like, amazing, especially for immigrant parents.
Yes.
So I think we have to give them grace and space.
Absolutely.
That's really awesome. Yeah. And nice to hear. And I think hopefully inspirational for people listening that like our parents can change.
Absolutely. They voted against gay marriage 10 years ago. Now my mom's like pro-trans. Like that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
you just gotta like keep working on it.
Absolutely. And I've had many conversations with them for sure. And my mom will, I think part of it is also offering a big safe space for my mom to ask the most unhinged, out of pocket questions about queerness, and me having to be super like patient and receptive and answer these questions, so
I can't even imagine. I wish you had a camera rolling for those.
No, I mean, one time she asked me, she was like, do you have small boobs because you take testosterone? I was like, girl, what?
Oh my God.
I was like, who's telling you about testosterone? But I was also like, okay, good question. Let's get into it. I don't take testosterone.
Like there was some thought behind that.
Yeah, there was some
research.
And I was just like, I don't know, titties skip a generation. Because my mom, she's like, I have these big boobs, but you flat-chested broad. Like, so
something in the San Diego water.
Right, exactly. It's that Tijuana water.
So you graduated, and then where did you go to college?
I went to UC Berkeley.
Wow.
Yeah. See, why are you surprised, Akbar? Why are you surprised? Hold on. Like, I got a tiny head, but a big brain. Hold on.
Makes sense. No, but that's an incredible school.
Yeah, I dropped out though, but
yeah, but you got in.
I got in. Yeah, my mom was like, go to a good school, and she never said to finish. So I did 2.5 years. I had good grades. I didn't like it. I just didn't like being in school. Like I just didn't want to go to school. And then once I found stand up, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. And like I just wanted to shift all my, because a big part of getting good at stand up is just like doing stand up. It's not really like obviously learning about the world and like educating yourself on history will always help inform better comedy because you're more historically informed. But like I just I was like taking like theater classes and like some directing classes and writing classes, but then I was doing a lot of like algebra. Like I don't know, I was like, I don't need to be doing that. Like I'm like never gonna use that. And I think I just was never like a hard academic either, and I was good at it because I needed to be, but I didn't want to do it. And I think a big reason why I also got into Berkeley, besides like, I think I had good grades and like a fine SAT and whatever, nothing like exceptional. I think my essay was really like, like what it was. And I think that it speaks to me as like a writer, where I feel like that is like kind of my bread and butter as like a comic too. It's like the writing and like all that. And, I just like wanted to take a break from school and like really focus on I was kind of going through it mentally, and I wanted to, focus on my mental health and focus on like my relationship with my family. And it was a little bit like tumultuous at the time. And I was like, let me just take a pause from school. And then in the back of my head, I was like, I'm never going back. And then I've never gone back.
You knew.
But I did it. And I think there's a lot of parts of Berkeley that I loved and parts that I didn't. And yeah.
How was that experience telling your parents that you're not going to, or did you not tell them for a little bit?
I didn't tell them for a little bit. And then I think they held hope for that I would go back. And then they were like, okay, maybe not. And I think it's just been a lot of like their anxiety that they've put on me of just like, okay, well, now we're putting a little bit of faith in Sureni that she's like doing her own thing and she says she's got it and we're scared, but like at least our son has his shit together. So if we die, like he'll look over her. But now I think they can see that like I've, built a bit of traction for myself and gotten some success. So I think they're a little bit more like, oh, we get it now. Like I remember they came to, I did the co-headlining tour last year with Sydney Steiger. It's a great comic from Sacramento. And they saw me perform for the first time and saw me headline and saw like all these, like it was like a couple hundred people that came out, and they saw people like line up to want to take photos with us and sign t-shirts and buy t-shirts and stuff.
Awesome.
So I think for them, it was like the first time seeing like a visual representation of like what this like crazy hobby that our daughter's been talking about for so long. And I think my mom said the nicest thing that made me cry after, which was that like, I'm not really worried about you anymore.
Aww.
And I was like, whew.
Yeah.
Thank God she's not worried, because I'm worried. Behind closed doors, I'm worried. But
we're worried.
But like it was such a like they stuck with me for so long and like doubted me for sure. And I think still have like hesitations, but I think overall they're like, okay, we get that this is not a phase and like this is something that you love and clearly makes you very happy, and it still does. And I don't really see myself like slowing down with it. And I'm gearing up for actually a tour starting in September until December. So that's coming up next.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
We're going to get into that more later.
Yeah.
So you drop out and you start stand up.
Yeah.
And you haven't come out at this stage yet?
No, yeah. I came out like maybe a year or two after that, during like the pandemic, actually.
How was doing stand up? Like, tell me about, were you like sort of yourself, or like did you evolve a little bit like once you came out?
So I kind of figured out that I was queer probably like my sophomore year of college. And a lot of it was like, I don't know, the classic thing of like every time I drank alcohol, I was like, why do I want to kiss a woman? Like, why is it that I want to like, what was it for you? When were you like, I'm probably gay?
At a really young age.
Yeah. Well, that's so real.
I didn't need any alcohol. I just need.
Yeah. Just 6-year-old Akbar just downing Coors Light.
Well, I think it was like as a kid, it's just like that funny feeling. And so it was sort of like, I have older brothers. So like my eldest brother, they were, I think, when I was in elementary school and high school, right? Mm-hmm. Going into college. So like at first it's like, your brother and his friends are like your older brothers. Mm-hmm. But then, you start feeling funny when you see some of his friends and you're like, wait, this is like, I like love him.
Totally.
Like, so it's
you're like, that's my man.
And you're trying to figure out the crush versus like the brotherly love,
That's so true. That's so hard. I
so
really
that
get that.
was sort of but I think I kind of knew at a very young age.
Totally. And you're like gay, right? You're not bi?
Yeah, I dated girls in high school and college. I hooked up with girls just because I was trying to like be
figure
like, I'm not,
and
maybe I'm gonna get, because in my head I was like, okay, I'll get married to a woman, but I'll do the gay on the side.
Classic.
Right?
Yeah.
Classic. But then no, and then I was like, no, I knew that I preferred men. Yeah, so I don't think I was ever bi. I think I was just trying to figure it out.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think the part that was confusing for me is because like at this point in my life, I'm bi/pan or whatever. But I think that was so confusing because I was like genuinely attracted to men and like enjoyed like hooking up with men. So then I was like, well, then what's this woman part of it that I'm attracted to? And then I was like, am I repressed? Like, I don't know. Like, and then for the longest time, I thought that I was attracted to women because I thought everybody was attracted to women because of how marketing works and like how they're like, we hypersexualize women in media. Specifically, like I used to think about those like Carl's Jr. ads.
Yes.
Or it's like this white woman, like a big
Paris
titties.
Hilton
like
washing a car.
Yeah, like washing a car, like eating a burger. And it's like, I'm not gay because it's a choice. Like I'm gay because of the marketing department. Like we're all gay, I
just wanted to be Paris Hilton washing the car.
Literally. That's what I'm saying. So it was like mad confusing. And then I was just like, okay, maybe there is something to this. Like everybody keeps saying I'm gay. I keep being like, I'm just a tomboy. And like and then when I get to college, I'm like, okay, I do want to kiss women. And then I was like really fascinated by gay people too. And I felt like comfortable with them and felt like they were my people. But then I was like, maybe I'm not. And then also the classic thing when you like join the Gay Straight Alliance group in high school and you're like, I'm just an ally.
I'm an ally.
I just really support people. And then you say crazy things like, I don't know, I just feel like we should love people for their soul. Like when you start saying shit like that, it's like, okay, you're probably gay, girl. I'm so sorry. Obviously, there's like then you know it, but then it's like accepting it. Those are two different things. So then it was like a lot of me getting like slowly exposed to more and more gay people like in the Bay. And like it's also hard because when I was in the comedy world in the Bay like is I would say pretty straight, honestly. And like the comedy world in general is pretty straight. And it's ironic because, you know, Bay Area, we think of San Francisco as being like a very like gay place.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would think that it'd be really gay.
I feel like it's a lot of like, you know, tech people are moving in and moving out, like a lot of the artists and like the queer people that have like lived there for so long. And it also feels like San Francisco is like mostly for like gay men. Like I feel like a lot of the spaces that exist in like the Castro are geared towards gay men. Like as we know, historically, there are very few lesbian spaces and they are dwindling like over the years. And there's like I think there's like maybe one or two like queer/lesbian bars in the Bay. Like it's bleak. And that's how it is in New York too. There's like so few of us, so few of those spaces. And if anything, there's more parties that pop up that are more like mobile as opposed to like a brick and mortar like establishment. But I think one of the biggest things for me in normalizing queerness among lesbians was seeing this stand-up show called Man Haters, and it was like, which is like, you know, tongue-in-cheek or whatever, but it was like this lesbian showcase that was hosted by Irene Tu and Dom Jellin. And Irene Tu has also like been kind of a mentor for me over the years, and she went to Berkeley and graduated, and she's like awesome and dope and all these things, and was really like looked out for me. But she was like one of the first, I think both of them were the first queer people like I actually ever came out to. And I actually think I came out to them at El Rio, which is like one of the lesbian bars in San Francisco. Now I'm thinking about it at one of their shows. So it's like, I think they were like my first examples of like, they are both POC, like Irene's East Asian, Dom's Black, and like they're lesbians, and they're both like masked, and they were dykes, and they were just out, and they had jokes about it, and they were dating women, and like, I don't know, like that shit was just like massive. And it's like, yeah, it goes to show like representation is important, like it is helpful, it is good for you, it is good for all of us. And I think also doing their show Man Haters was huge because it was like they also did it at this bar called the White Horse, which is like another, you know, institution in the East Bay, and it was like 150 lesbians in one place. And my parents seeing this, they'd be like, wow, all these people had bad karma. Like, all these people had so much bad karma in this room. But it's just like, yeah, like that was so transformative for me to witness, and helpful and special. And I really am grateful. And then moving to New York, it's like, God, there's so many queer spaces. Yes. And it's like overwhelming, and you see so many variations of what queerness can look like, and it's so expansive and beautiful. And like, I remember I went to one of my first queer parties at, I think it was Body Hack, really dope, like queer trans party, POC party, and it was utopia. Like, it was like utopia. And then the other place I would describe as like utopia for me is going to Reese Beach in the summer, and where it's like a topless beach. It's a queer beach. It's not like sexual. It's just like queer people just themselves, and like prancing around in the water, and everyone's like smiling. You can get a burger at Spectro, and it's just the best. Like, it is just like, I mean, New York is like, you know, New York is one of the most like radical places, and so is the Bay when it comes to like queer rights and actually just standing on business and fighting for it, and like protesting and organizing. And it's so special to be around people who are so committed to joy and being themselves and fighting for other people's right to be themselves. Like, I feel like I've been the most like active politically and trying to have more conversations since moving to New York, and like, I don't know, being in my like mid-20s and feeling a lot of respect for the elders who came before me, and wanting to be that for the people who come out like after me. And it's, people did that for me, and it'll always be like that, you know? That's amazing. That's sort of like, I was going to say Irene and Dom are sort of the T part of this podcast. Totally. The Transform, Elevate, Affirm. They were there to do that for you. Absolutely. And so I think you're right. It's a cycle. Like, there's a lot of like older, I just know in terms of the men, I don't know if it's the same for lesbians, but gay men who are just sort of like forgotten, right? As you become old, you're sort of like thrown to the side kind of thing. Yeah. But I think we forget like that old generation right now are the reason we have the rights, right? They lost so many of their friends to the AIDS crisis, to just sort of lynchings and beatings and abuse, and when they were like searching out gay people and like firing them from their jobs. And so I think we forget about that. So it's really interesting. I think that more respect needs to be given to sort of the older LGBT generations, because they've
paved the way, and then we're paving it further, but like we have that, and then we're trying to like, I feel like we're trying to fight for what we have now to maintain that, and hopefully we can go further for the future generations. But it's so true.
I do wish like there was more intergenerational spaces and conversations that are happening, because in an ideal universe, like you would be hanging out 33% of your time with people who are younger than you, 33% same age as you, 33 elders. Because history is repeating itself, and it feels like nothing is secure and stable forever, and it feels like at the end of the day it's like we have to be vigilant that our rights will be maintained, and that requires like, you know, understanding the history of people who are like literally just 20 years older than us. You know, that's not long, but like they've lived through it, they've seen it, and like they have information that's been passed on to them. Like and they have so many tactics and strategies of like how to organize and ensure that like we will still be able to have these spaces that we always have and wanted, you know? Yeah,
no, I 100% agree. And I want to also now talk about the representation within, I mean, we're talking about representation for our communities, but within the comedy space. So I just assumed like there was a lot of queer comedians, or it was like a bit, you know, I know you mentioned it's mostly a straight community, majority straight.
Sure.
So as you were coming into it and now as you grow in it, like tell me about like being a queer woman of color in that space. I mean, are there many of you? Are there any of you?
Totally. I mean, you know, it's, I do think that obviously, I mean, I'm sure you've seen in the last 5 years even, like, the amount of media that's shifted around queerness is, like, it's tripled, I don't know, quadrupled. Like, I just feel like there's way more conversation. Like, it's like, why is it, like, cool to be gay now in some ways? Like, like Gen Z, like, I perform at colleges sometimes, and it's like the energy from the crowd, and when I talk about queerness is, like, a lot different. Or TikTok. I think TikTok was a big one for, like, a lot of people coming into their queerness and their transness, which is really wild. I think being in the New York comedy scene, there is just a bigger alt comedy scene that at least that I've been part of, and like a big, you know, club scene here. And I do feel like if sometimes to simplify the Brooklyn scene, and this is again generalizing, I think the Brooklyn scene can be like very white, but then very gay, but then the Manhattan scene can be very like POC, but very straight. So pick your poison. You know what I mean? And like there is an overlap. There's like a Venn diagram. Like there was like a need. I mean, me and Asha Ward, this like incredible comic and writer for SNL, we ran this show called Earth Tones, and the whole point was putting on like queer BIPOC performers and like that intersection, because there isn't many spaces like that. And if we're in Brooklyn, if we're in New York City, one of the most like liberal places, not even liberal, but like the most like diverse places, that's what I should say, and it's still like, wow, it's like this. It's just like, well, then what the fuck is the rest of the U.S.?
Yeah, oh my God, I mean? That's scary.
So, like, I just think also comedy as a whole, I mean, if you think about, like, what specials, you know, get put to Netflix and Hulu, I mean, it's, like, a lot of, like, straight performers, you know? And it's, like, okay, obviously, like, queer people will always be, like, a small percentage. What is, like, 10% or 20% of the population? I don't know.
I feel like we're bigger than that.
But
the ones that are out,
like, we can convert you.
I think there's like hidden ones.
Sure.
So I feel like with the hidden ones, it's probably 50-50.
What is it, like hetero-flexible or something?
Yeah, I feel like we're probably 50-50 in the entire world, but you know.
Yeah, I think that queer people will always be like slightly smaller than the majority of straight people.
Yeah.
And it feels wild to see corporations pull back on their like funding of like festivals and things now that like DEI is like taking a pause and, you know, reverted. It's crazy to me because it's just like, oh yeah, people are only going to be supportive when it's convenient or when like it's going to make your money go up, you know, but like we're still here. We're still fighting.
And we are leading. I mean, I would say a lot of the creativity comes from queer people.
Listen.
Think about it.
Listen.
Like, the fashion you love.
Come on.
Some of the biggest directors, actors, comedians, the writers on SNL, you know, like there's...
Gay people are in everything. Everything you love has been touched by a gay person. I'm so sorry to say.
Or the team is comprised of somebody that includes. So I think people forget that. Like,
listen, if
we were to all just disappear, like...
The world would be gray and ugly.
Hello, you would not have this, okay?
Yeah.
No colors. But it's interesting you said that because I've been feeling similarly in sort of, because I have the added layer of being Muslim. And I've been feeling similarly in representation because I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, we have some amazing Muslim comedians doing badass shit like Mo and Raimi and Hassan Minaj.
Yeah.
And they're all really cool and open. And as far as I know, I mean, I don't know them personally, but as far as I know, they seem cool and open and to all audiences. But I'm like, where is the gay Muslim man? And there might be, I don't know everyone, there might be a queer Muslim comedian that I'm not thinking about, but mainstream, where is it, right? Like Mo is such an amazing show on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Raimi was incredible, I think, on Hulu, if I'm not mistaken, and Hassan has his specials.
Right.
But they all show one perspective, which is great. This immigrant perspective of like, this guy, straight guy struggling with his identity and sort of the tropes of being an immigrant in America. But I'm like, why can't we show like that, but through like a queer lens, right? Because that'd be pretty funny. That's pretty fucking funny.
I get it.
So I'm not hating on, I think it's amazing that they're there and creating space, but like similarly, I feel like there's a lack of representation even within, so the small POC community we have, then you add the layer of like the Muslim, and I feel like I don't really exist in that. The only person I can think of really, and to me, I mean, he is Muslim and Pakistani, Tan France.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And he's cool, and I've read his book, and it was so awesome, for him to share that story. But other than that, I can't really think of anybody, right? So I mean, what I'm saying is there is space.
Totally.
And I think that
and a desire. People want it.
Desire. We need to give people a platform, right?
Yeah, when's your special coming out?
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I tried I did UCB because before we filmed Poreless.
That's so cool.
Because Fozzie and Harris wanted me to like do improv just to kind of get in the groove of being silly and stupid and just reactive and not like always thinking.
Totally.
Which I think was really helpful. I recommend to anybody, if you're doing a big movie or show or whatever, it's your first time or even first few times acting, do stand up. Do it for like 8 weeks before, because it just gets you loose. Like the judgment went away pretty much after the first class, because you kind of got to know everybody and you knew nobody was like laughing at you or like making fun of you. Yeah, everybody was just there to have fun.
Yeah.
So it felt like a safe space, but it did allow you to just forget what people think and just be stupid. And I would get stuck, and it was so funny, but we would be doing the back and forths, like the different exercises, right? And then you build and you build and you build. And then I would just freeze and I'd be like, I don't know what to say. And he's like, well, what would you have said if you were, before you like stopped? And I would say what I would have said, and they all start laughing.
Yeah.
And he's like, so then just fucking do that. He's like, you had it, but you just stopped because you're getting in your head being like, maybe are they going to think this is funny? Just go,
Yeah, totally. It's crazy, like the amount of self-censoring you do.
Yeah.
And how a part of being an improv is like being in that flow state where you could just like say. Yeah. Not even think, just say.
Just say.
And then that's you being yourself.
Truly being yourself.
But that's
where
like,
you're not
it's
even
scary
thinking.
To be yourself. It's scary to be yourself.
Scary.
Sometimes I say things into a microphone because I'm just like riffing and I'm improvising. And I'm like, who let me say that? Because I'm just going. But like that to me is like so joyful and freeing, Yeah. And people like to see that because it's someone being real as fuck. They are being themselves. And like that means being ugly and pretty.
And our mind is what stops us. That's
totally.
We are
your
stopping
censorship.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like we're in this like prison,
I do think a lot about the concept of like, who would I be if no one was looking?
Yeah. Well,
I'd probably be in PJs.
Hell yeah. And I think it's when you're with sort of like you have those kind of few friends who like, where you can just be anything. Like you can look like shit and you guys just have the best time and all you do is laugh, and like that's really who you are. But I wish it's hard to be like that with everyone.
Yeah.
But I think that is what is going to make you successful. Anyone, when you can really tap into that. And it shows, because then when you're on camera performing a role, it's coming out. When you're doing stand up, like that's when people are belly laughing because because that's them inside. So you're hitting something where their internal intuition is like connecting, because deep down that's them.
People want to see what they are thinking being said out loud. You know what I mean? Because it's scary, and they're like, I'm like a conduit for your thoughts and feelings. You know what I mean? I'm true. Like, which is powerful, because it is scary for whatever reasons, whether it's like their home life, whether it's their workplace, whatever. Like sometimes people don't have the ability to speak as freely as they want. And like, I do think that artists are one of the few people that have the ability to speak freely. And that's a big part of where their creativity and creation comes from. Is this, at least for me, I feel like I do stand up because it's the freest I feel. Like I have authority problems for sure. I have a massive authority problems, and stand up is like when I feel the freest, and it makes me feel like I have the most autonomy, and it feels like I feel untouchable. And it's, your voice is so powerful and the words you use are so powerful, and that's why people latch on and have parasocial relationships with people who are like influencers even. It's just like they are being what I want to be. Yeah. And I look up to you. And this is a possibility of what I could look like. like those people who came before me, those elders, like that's what I did with them.
Yeah.
And in theory, crazy, someone might look at me like that. And I don't know why, which
they
is
are.
bonkers, but I'm like, I'm just a little bimbo. But for someone, like I'm probably doing that for them, which is like psychotic. I mean, I've had people message me and it makes me fucking bawl because I wish that, like in a weird way, like I wish I existed for myself. Like I didn't know queer brown people growing up at all.
Same. But that's why I feel like my personal opinion is for queer brown people, it is our responsibility to show up so loud and to do what we're doing because we're creating safe spaces for others, whether they want to be performers or they just want to be a doctor, it doesn't matter. But like we're allowing them to be free. So like you said, the people that message you, I get messages like that from like queer Muslim kids who are like, you know, I saw your story and it made me reconnect with my parents, or I came out and my, you know, there was one guy who was messaging me and it was so emotional because he's like, I was so inspired by you. I came out to my parents, but they're not talking to me right now. Like I miss my home food and all. It was really, I mean, it like makes me want to tear up to think about, you know? And so I was just like, hey, like people get in dark places. So I was like, if you ever need to talk, like I'm here if you want to reach out, like, so just every now and then we message and we like laugh about stuff. And, you know, he started cooking. And so, but I'm not saying like I'm saving anyone, but I'm saying that those conversations can save lives because when you're in a dark place like that, you just need to know that there's someone else who understands you or hears you. So I think every little bit we do is important. You don't even have to be a big influencer. You can just speak or create a YouTube channel, you know, whatever, you'll reach somebody. But I want to touch on this comedy as this great connector and healer because I think, you know, we're touching on that and I think it's what it is. And something, that Fawzia Mirza, who we both know, she was the producer and writer of our movie, said at a panel, she said, you know, it's a shame that there's no Oscar category for comedies because there really should be.
Is there not?
No, there isn't. Not for comedies.
No way.
And there really
That's crazy.
should be because this, I mean, it's you being you, but it's a performance. And also, comedy saves, comedy heals, and especially right now in this divisive time that we were touching on a little bit, comedy is the great connector, the healer, the explainer, because when we can laugh with each other, but not at each other, right? That's when we're going to understand. So when we can laugh, watch a movie like ours or other movie and laugh with queer Muslim people or with, you know, immigrant people, whatever it is, rather than at them, that's when we can understand like, oh, we could see ourselves in a movie. Like if there's a movie portraying like a funny racist Karen, right? If a white woman can watch that and laugh with it and be like, oh my God, that's like kind of like me sometimes. And then course correct or be like, ooh, like I shouldn't talk about people like just, I mean, this is like, that's like the most basic example, but there's a way to really educate while you entertain. Totally. And then also, I think it makes things easier to talk about. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, is that something that you love and feel?
Totally. I mean, yeah, I feel like one of the reasons like I got into stand-up was watching Dave Chappelle. And, you know, regardless of, you know, some of the things he talks about now and how he sounds a little bit like an out-of-touch uncle, a lot of his initial specials where he talked about race, I thought was so poignant. And like, he was able to poke fun at white people and talk about like how they'll be acting crazy and racist, but in a way that made people be like, oh, that is how I'm acting. And maybe that isn't a good thing to assume that, you know, black people are harmful or whatever. Yeah. And like the way that he talked about race was so like, he made it the medicine go down. Like that's how I always visualized. And I thought it was such a powerful tool. Like he was able to educate and entertain at the same time and brilliantly do so with comedy as a method. I mean, I think comedy is like a survival tool for me personally. Like I think I felt very othered growing up. I felt like I was like this poor immigrant kid who like didn't know how to dress well and didn't have like the cool clothes. And I also just felt very different. Like I didn't know anyone else like me on campus. And like, I think that people didn't ask like the funny kid questions. Like they just wanted to hear the funny kid talk and like make them laugh, you know, like they don't want to know too much. And then I think so. I think it made me like, you know, survive. Like I think it made me, you know, have friends and things like that and like blend in or whatever when you're young and still trying to like assimilate to the best of your ability. But then as I got older, I realized that comedy is absolutely how I process trauma and like how I process anything, frankly. Like I'm gonna make a joke. Like I'm at a funeral, I'm gonna make a joke. Like that's just like how my brain works. And I think not everybody works that way, and like that's okay. But for me, that is my default setting. And that's just like how I was born. I was gay and I was born to tell jokes. You know what I mean? That's how I was born gay. I was born gay, I was born a comedian. And yeah, that's just like how I'm always gonna process things. And I think a lot of people are also like that. And I think that those people resonate with my comedy and like the topics that I talk about. And obviously any comedian, usually their audience, their fan base like looks like them to some degree, or like has similar upbringings or whatever. And I think that's how I feel with a lot of the people who come out to like, who pay money, which Jesus Christ, so grateful that someone would do that to see me. But the people who come to see me, they're like, they want to hear me just talk about my experience and poke fun at my own experience, because often there is a big overlap with them, and it makes them feel less alone. Like I watch stand up to feel less alone, and then people watch my stand up to feel less alone. That's beautiful. That's crazy. And I think that if we want to bring change, which we all do, and action is one of the cures to despair, like literally doing something will make you feel like less hopeless. Part of what energizes you is feeling the joy and the camaraderie in what you are doing. And like laughing is like so radical. Like joy is so radical. It really keeps you going in the fight. If we just talked about all the like shitty parts of, let's say, racism or whatever, and like how much of a drag it is, like we'd lose steam. But to poke fun at some white person doing some white shit and being like, that's so silly, it keeps you going. It makes you feel like, oh, we're all seeing this as racist, right? And then we're laughing about it, and then we add on to it and be like, imagine if she did this, or what if she, you know what I mean? And like the Karen memes are hilarious. I mean, like that's like a very like, you know, so basic level, like entry level, you know, method of talking about racism, but it is approachable, and it is like you can wrap your head around it, you know? And
we all realize that we're all that person at some point.
Totally.
Like, I have moments too where I'm like, oh my God, that was crazy. I was just such a fucking Karen. Yeah. Like what the fuck, you know?
Absolutely.
And I'm not white, but I think like that's where I'm saying we can all relate and commiserate, because we can all be a Karen.
Absolutely.
And it's just important to recognize it and laugh at it and then improve.
And a Karen is powerful. Listen,
a Karen
like who's on the right side of history. Ooh,
yes.
we could pass some legislation.
Oh, yes.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, look at I feel like our governor in Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. I think they call her Big Gretch. I love her.
Big Gretch. Yeah, that's so funny.
She needs to run for president. She is badass.
That's so
She
funny.
is a Karen. I will stand behind.
I love that.
If you want me to be your press secretary down the road, let me know. Well, I feel like we spoke so much about the tea. Like the transform, elevate, affirm. We did. I think, you know, you shared a lot about how comedy is that and why you do it. I mean, it's not just for that. It's a passion, a lifelong passion, but it's sort of what fuels you to do it more. What do you think we need to do in the comedy space to have more voices like yours? How can we uplift voices like yours? I mean, in other POCs and bring them forward so that it's not just the same like kind of 10 people with the specials who are all amazing, but like how do we do you see like do you have like a vision, a dream, a manifestation?
I mean, I think even outside of just comedy, I do think one of the most powerful things is like creating spaces. Like literally, like I talk about how that space, Man Haters, that was created was like so transformative for me, and like me creating a space for other people to go see comedy. Like a lot of people will come to me after like Earth Tones and be like, I thought I hated comedy because I'd be always seeing these like white guy comedians and they suck and they talk about like my fucking wife, you know, or something like that. But then to see this, they're like, wait, I actually love comedy. Like this is my first show and I love it, or this is my second show and I love it. Like I think people always want to talk about, like, for example, like we want a house party. We love a house party, but nobody wants to host a house party because it's work. It's fucking labor. It's opening up your home to the community and like dealing with maybe a broken glass or like something scuffed up. But like, there's like that saying of like, the price of convenience is community. And like, you need to be willing to give up convenience if you want to be tapped into your community. Because the other thing is like, the way that capitalism, and let's lock in about capitalism, is like the way that they control you is by promoting individualism. If you are individuals who are separate from other people, you're so much easier to control when you're in your little box tucked away, you know? So it's like creating spaces where people are forced to be together, to talk about, you know, we talk about financial like pay transparency. It's like these spaces where you talk about like everything that's going on, what you're feeling, how can we support each other? Like, you lost a bottle cap to this thing. Oh, hey, I actually have that same bottle cap and I'm not using it. You know, I don't know. It's just like creating an environment where people can exchange information and resources and knowledge and create opportunity for each other. Like, having someone, when I'm on the road, having a comic who's like up and coming, like I'm also up and coming, but like having someone who's like maybe a little bit more green than I am open for me. Like, that's an opportunity, which to me might be nothing, but to them, that's a huge thing. And Roy Wood Jr. talks about this in his most recent special about having this like photographer shoot his show and like how it maybe meant nothing to him, but it was like everything to this guy who had like had this really traumatic life, like I think in the military or something like that. But it's like, yeah, I think it's like putting other people on, like what can I do to create a space for the people in general? What can I do to create a space for people within my field? How can I lift people up? Somebody lifted you up all along the way. Someone always 100%. Lifted you up, whether it be a family member, a friend, an employer, or whatever. Like, it is walking the walk. People always want to talk about like shit's got to change. Okay, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? Did you do anything today? What did you do? What did you create? Yeah. Like, part of the revolution or being tapped into your community is giving up convenience and creating opportunity in space. I think that is what it is. I love that. And I think I'd love to see you open for Hassan Minhaj. Hey, me too, brother. So I think that'd be pretty cool. And I think it's very possible. Maybe Mindy can be behind it. Mindy, come on now. And then spotlight up and comers like yourself, and even more, green people. It could be a whole showcase. Hulu, Prime, Netflix, talking to you. And we need these networks, but with these people all coming together. And I think that's what needs to be next. I agree. But I'm really excited. So you said you had a show September. Yeah, I'm starting. Yeah, what's next? I'm going on tour. So I'll be doing, I think, just about every weekend across the U.S. Maybe the UK coming up soon. Wow. I need to name the tour. I haven't named the tour yet. And it's you, like you're headlining tour, and then you'll have like different people opening. 4 to 5 shows each weekend, and then so I'll be every weekend starting in September until December. So it'll be, that is so exciting. I'll probably cry like a lot. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be stressful, so cool. But it'll be awesome too. It's really the next step of like what I want to be doing, of like headlining aggressively and working on my hour and everything. So that's coming up, and then my acting and writing. Yes. And, yeah. So we end every episode with a quick fire lightning round of just fun questions. Oh, okay. Let's do it. I'm scared. No, these are fun. Okay. These are like fun. These are like very like Karen Sita, simple questions. Okay. Favorite comfort food or nostalgic snack? Oh, comfort food or nostalgic snack. Okay, damn. Well, I mean, I love my mom's cooking. So, I mean, like a nice place of like rice and curry. Oh, I actually know. What is Sri Lankan food? Is it similar to South Indian, Pakistani? I think that Sri Lankan food is like slightly more bitter and way more spicy. Ooh. I think and it uses a lot more coconut milk. It doesn't use any dairy milk. Really. It's coconut milk because the island is like. That's why I love Thai food. Listen, yeah, so good. It's like, the island is like covered in king coconuts, which are like pink coconuts that are like massive. Wow. And so everything's like coconut milk based, and it's so decadent and delicious. I love it. You should go. There's this restaurant called Sigiri that's in Manhattan, and then there's another one named La Cruana, which is in Staten Island. And Staten Island has the largest population of Sri Lankan people in the U.S. Crazy. I would never have known that. I know. Never would have. But maybe we'll go for that place in Manhattan. I also really love. I was gonna say comfort food is what is it? Long bao, like soup dumplings. Ooh. A soup dumpling when I'm sad. Oh, it hits better when you're sad. Good. So good. What is your go-to Delulu thought that keeps you going? Oh, shit. I'm that girl. Always have been that girl. Same, but I think that's why we're here. I'm the one. Like, that's it. What is like a mantra, phrase, or safe word that you turn to when things get really dark or some, you didn't land something? Like, how do you sort of keep yourself going? I think baby steps. Like, I literally have like a visual in my brain because I don't like hiking. That's like a new development for me. Like, going on, like exercising in general is like a new development for me. But I just started like going hiking and stuff like that, like here and there. And it always blows my mind to me because the mountain looks so steep, and then when you're on the trail, it literally is just one step at a time. And then by the time fucking 5 hours have passed, you're at the top of the mountain, and it literally is just one step at a time. Like, I think one motto for me this year is consistency regardless of results. That's been a big motto for me. It's like, hey, just keep showing up, just do the work, keep showing up, do the thing every week. Stay consistent, and then see what happens. Because obviously, if you keep, let's say, doing a 30-minute workout every single day, something's gonna change.
Something is,
and there's also that concept of like there's no change is gonna happen if no changes happen too. So consistency regardless of results has been a big motto for me, and I can't deny it. It's working.
It feels we're good. Seeing it. Also, just keep it moving. Keep things going.
Literally,
don't get stagnant.
Exactly. It's literally just starting and staying in motion, and like I'm trying to be one of those people that doesn't leave things. Like I'm trying to respond right away if I can. Like that's a big thing of like just do it, just stay in motion, and I am happier when I am in motion. I will say,
same.
I feel less, and maybe that's just the late state capitalism that's like burned into my brain, where it's like you got to stay productive, but like I do feel better when I'm in motion. So I think just like baby steps and just like consistency regardless of results are like two big things. So just one step at a time. Yeah, I
love it. I have a new sort of mantra affirmation that came to me in a meditation.
Ooh.
So I now like say it anytime I get really stressed or like I'm going in like an anxious tailspin. So I say, money comes freely and abundantly to me. Ideas and creativity flow through me. And I give generously and freely.
I love that. I love that.
So to me, that
would reset my nervous system.
It just came to me once. Like, it's probably things I've heard or things I've read. But I feel like it's like a full sort of circle, because it's like, okay, great. I'm not stressed about money's an energy, so it comes freely and abundantly. Then ideas and creativity flow through me, so I put that out to the world. And then I give endlessly and generously, meaning we always have to be giving, and you're going to get more.
I agree.
But giving doesn't have to mean money. It's time and energy, mentoring, it's anything.
There's so much
So that's
you could
been
give.
my latest Karen mantra.
I love
And then lastly, one piece of advice you wish someone gave you when you started doing stand-up.
There is so much power in saying no. Like, you don't got to do everything. And if you feel like you're almost dreading it, like, you don't got to do it. Like, there's a grind, like, culture thing with stand-up, and, like, I still feel, like, tapped into that sometimes, where it's like, you got to do every spot. You can't say no to a spot, blah, blah, blah. But, like, sometimes it's like, no, like, you're run down. Like, it's okay to be like, I can't do this last minute spot. Like, it's because a lot of it is like, stand-up is one of the few art forms you have to develop in front of people. Like, you can't, like, you can sing by yourself, you can paint by yourself, you can dance by, like, stand-up, it's a conversation with an audience. It's building pacing through timing, through performing. Like, it is one of those things you have to do the hours to get better at. But I also believe that, like, I no longer believe in the sentiment of, like, a starving artist, or, like, you need to be that in order to be successful. Like, I don't believe in all that. Like, I think that you can still be thriving and creating art at the same time. And I think that, like, you can say no to things. And, like, that's okay. It's actually powerful to say no. It's empowering to say no. And I think will build your confidence and your ability to create art more effectively when you're not run the fuck down, you know?
Yeah.
I think saying no is, like, very powerful. Obviously, don't say no just because you're like, oh, I'm a little tie. Like, obviously, if you got it in, you do it. But, like, it's okay to say no, and, like, don't feel guilty about it. Like, and that goes not just for just doing a bunch of spots, but just, like, in life. One of the most powerful things, and one of the few powers you have in this career, in this industry, is saying no. Like, I think that's a big one. And I think another one is just, I think that your people will find you. And I think that I felt this a lot by being a person of, like, multiple identities, that I feel constantly with stand-up is, like, you're catering sometimes to an audience of, like, you're reading the room and you're like, well, what does this room need? What part of myself do I need to, make a little bit more palatable or extra or whatever? Like, you're doing a lot of calculations. There's a level of you have to do that in order to just learn the craft of stand-up when you're beginning, where you have to learn how to write a joke. You need to learn how to, like, do basic performance. But then after that, I think that developing your own fan base and developing your own voice, I think that was one of the most liberating things, was understanding that, like, not everybody likes me. And that's okay, because I don't like everybody. And when I'm saying that I don't like everybody, I'm not saying interpersonally. I'm saying, like, their art is just not for me. It doesn't speak to me. Doesn't mean it's bad art. It's great art to somebody else. But to me, it's, like, not. And, like, that's vice versa, where it's, like, not everybody's going to, like, fuck with my shit. And, like, that's okay, because if everybody fucked with my shit, like, that'd be bad art. You got to have a few enemies to be making some good controversial art.
That's
you know what
true.
I mean? And I'm like, I actually agree with that sentiment. And it's like, I think that was one of the most liberating things, is understanding that, like, yeah, not everyone's going to fuck with you. And that still means you're an incredible comic. You're still an incredible comic, just because, that one white person in the corner is not laughing or whatever. Or even that brown person in the corner is not laughing. Like, that doesn't mean you're not killing, I think that was liberating.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I will close it on wise words of Reese Witherspoon and, AKA Elle Woods, AKA my mentor and why I wanted to go to law school. But I didn't. But I might later.
Yeah, you should
because,
go.
It's hard. She says, other people's opinions are none of your business.
Yes, I've read that. It's such a great quote.
Keep it going.
It is such a great quote.
I love it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining. This was so much fun. Where can everybody follow you? Just on Instagram?
Ooh, yeah. Instagram is at Sureni, Sureni. And then my TikTok is Sureni Comedy. My website is surenicomedy.com. Join my mailing list. That's the number one thing.
Yes.
Join the mailing list because that tells me where I should tour. You really just put your email and your zip code. If you were to do one thing for me, that would be the thing. Join the mailing list.
Do it.
I want to come perform in your city and come to you. So
follow along, and hopefully we will see lots of you at Sureni's comedy tour all over the country and maybe in the UK. Thank you. Well, for more conversations like this, subscribe and follow us at The SafeTea. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Thank you.